I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Coast Maine Brands, and I'm here with a blurry Steph McDonough, because this is what happens when we're doing this. We're going to get some clear images and we're going to get some not so clear images, but what we're going to get is really clear passion and fun of Steph in her garden. So Steph, how are you today?
Good. Is the image okay now?
The image is slightly pixelated, that's fine. It's
Okay.
never going to be perfect. Just like your garden, right? It's never going to be perfect. So
Exactly.
you're we are. It's well, we're into August in
Yeah,
Maine.
it's
We've
amazing.
had we've had very little rain. It's been hot. A lot of the country is dealing with heat. We know that. So how is your garden doing? From what I can see in the background, it looks pretty spectacular, actually.
It looks really nice. I have been really happy with it. As you know, it's a new garden for me. And
Sure.
so this is a brand new garden where instead of going tilling into the earth, which was really kind of just rocks and sand,
Yeah.
we added organic matter to our land and we created raised beds out of the land we have here. Not raised beds in the form of boards around them, but raised beds in the form of we worked with our local nurseries and brought in soil and organic matter from local farms, and we've grown into that, and it looks really nice. With every season, I'm always like, oh, I feel like I'm a little behind, but that's
Sure.
because Maine is such a short season. And I think succession planting is so important, especially when we're in a short season. If you grow in New England, I don't know. I think people think that they have such a short window, but they don't realize that you can still be planting. You can absolutely still be planting seeds right now. We just turned the corner on August, and it's the perfect time to pull out plants that maybe aren't working for you and start plants that can still turn around time before snow comes in. So, things that might do that are sunflowers. We still have plenty of time for sunflowers to grow. Cosmos, which is a great New England cut flower, and then things like beans, spinach, lettuce, root vegetables like beets, carrots, parsnip. Go ahead and get those going. They'll be ready for Thanksgiving. Like, how awesome is that?
No, I think it's the greatest thing, and also I know that our falls are milder than they used to be, so they are better for growing.
Yeah.
And go back over one quick thing. When we have people that listen to us, they don't always know all the terms, but describe succession planting.
Yeah, so okay, it's August 1st or 2nd or something like that. It's the first week of
Mhm.
August. To me, that always in my little calendar I keep in my head, that
Yeah.
means I need anything I want to harvest for fall, for Thanksgiving dinner, I need to plant right now. So those are things like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, those take too long. Those need to start like way at the beginning of the season. But like I said, things like root vegetables. So parsnips, beets, carrots, you can plant those now. I planted those at the beginning of the season and I'm harvesting some of those now. And it's the perfect time once you pull your carrots, plant some more. Like, it doesn't mean you have to stop planting carrots. Things like tomatoes, sure, you get one go at a tomato season, but crops that take 75 days or less, you can keep going on those. So any kind of greens, things like Swiss chard, kale, spinach, arugula is a great one because in the fall to put arugula on like harvest pizzas or any kind of like tomatoes or things you're pulling off the garden is so fresh and delicious. So succession planting is when you have something already planted, you harvest it, and then you plant it again because it doesn't mean you only get to have it one time. Keep going.
So when you do that, what we get for a lot of questions, I've had people that are experienced gardeners, not doing so much a raised bed, but I had a person, a doctor who was an experienced gardener who had a standing raised bed, just had Coast Maine soil in it, and this was years ago. So he was using lobster compost, had this amazing harvest, and then planted again and didn't add anything to it. And he was like, why is this harvest struggling? And I'm like, well, you've only got so much soil, right? It's one thing if it's in ground and you're pulling a bunch of energy from around you, but when you have a container, basically, there's only so much biology in there. Do you do any type of additional amending at this time of year?
Thank you for asking. That is so important. I always do. In fact, yesterday, Cameron, I spent the whole day going through all of my pots. And what I did was some of the container plants that I had were looking pretty tired. Things like petunias, they're not dead, but they're looking really worn out and stressed out. So I took things like the petunias that were in the containers and I moved them to a shady, partly sunny spot in the back and planted them in the ground. And then I took fresh plants. It's also a great time to go to your local nurseries because there are a lot of plant sales going on right now. And you can get like 2-for-1 perennials and things like that, where a perennial, reminding you, just comes back year after year. So it's a great time to invest in your garden right now. So what I did is I went to my local garden center, as I do every weekend.
As we talk
And
about all the time, and that's what you should be doing.
they
Yes.
were having a sale.
Yeah.
So I stocked up on this gorgeous, I've never seen it before. It's like a peach echinacea and it'll come back year after year. And so they're having a sale. So I got a half dozen of them. And so I refreshed my pots with those, as well as some Sedona that I noticed. The Sedona was in my front garden bed and it was just getting eaten up by some dahlias and cosmos I had planted in there. So I moved the Sedona with the nice perennials I got from my garden center and some other succulents I had on the back patio. And I just refreshed my pots with those things. Now, in the garden, what I do once it hits August, you've got to refresh that soil. So top dress your soil. I love using Stonington blend. It is absolutely the best. If you don't have access to Stonington blend, seriously ask your nursery to get it because it's that good where it really does make a difference if you use that versus something else. Because I have used other ones like a Captain Jack's or something like that. Stonington, I don't know what you put in it.
So,
It is so good. So
so
all
what?
you have to
Yeah.
do for that is just top dress it. That means just broadcast it, scatter it on the soil, and then take either your hand or a little rake and just move it into the soil. You do not want to take a rake onto like your tomatoes because
Right.
your tomato roots are very shallow and they broadcast through the soil. So don't rake up your roots right now, but just take your hand and just, aggravate it into the
Scratch it
soil.
in a little bit. When we say Stonington blend, and this is the issue with some of my products, we're talking about, just so the audience knows, we're talking about our Stonington blend plant food. It is a plant food. We also have a Stonington blend growers mix. Are
Mhm.
you looking for a tractor in the background?
No,
Is that what you're just
I
like?
know I have a bag of it just like randomly hanging around. I have so many bags of this. So I will find it to show you.
No, that's okay. We can pull it in, but it's that product is a combination of kelp. It has lobster meal in it. It has worm castings and some other inputs. It's a fantastic, well balanced, slow release fertilizer because it's organic and it will refresh your soil. And it's really that easy. It's awesome.
It's the best. You can also, with the kids, we've done compost tea with that before because I
Yeah.
had a bunch of tea bags because we make well, homemade. We make compost tea. And so we also use the chamomile that you see me harvest sometimes and make tea blends with the kids. So, anyways, we have tea bags in the greenhouse and we would make compost tea with it.
So and what happens with that is you get a ton of instant biology for those plants too. And then the granular that's left over that's not soluble, you can put in your garden too and get that additional benefit. So it's kind of a two-step with that. It's awesome.
Yeah, basically, anytime I know that there's going to be a nice solid drench, I throw it down. Especially this season. The season's been very dry, and the rains that we have been getting have been quite heavy. So
Yep.
I've just been taking bags of it and just scatter it into my soil when I know there's going to be a thorough rain.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what else do we have going on in the background? What else is at the top of Stephanie's active mind today?
Okay, the other thing, you guys, really important. So as we turn the corner on every month, you have to realize this is like growers, especially growers in New England, like the season is so short. So every day is like Christmas, and as it should be. Like, let's celebrate it because
Every day is like Christmas. I love that.
don't
Yeah,
you think? I mean, it can
yeah,
be if you look for it.
yeah.
So, okay, I want to remind everyone every morning, no excuse, you have to go on your morning garden walk. What are we looking for on our morning garden walk? We are just connecting. We're connecting with our plants and we're looking to see if deer or bugs have been on them. You're looking under your squash leaves for those golden eggs of aphids before they hatch. You're looking for hornworms on your tomatoes. Before you see a hornworm, you're actually going to see its poop. So, are you seeing that gross, huge green dinosaur poop around your tomatoes?
Yeah.
If you are, you have hornworms. So, it's about going for a garden walk and looking at your plant. The other day, I've had my eye on a plant, a squash plant. It was looking sad. It was looking sad, and I didn't know why. And the two plants around it looked great. And upon further review, I had a squash vine borer, which I was so glad I caught before it went to the others. But things like that, you catch only by noticing, only by seeing. And so just go out in your garden every morning and go for a garden walk. You'll notice things. The best way to organic garden without without chemical intervention is looking and seeing and reacting before things become too much of an issue. So the other thing I'm noticing, Cameron, tons of Japanese beetles. Are you hearing this from people? So many Japanese beetles right now.
I don't know why. I don't.
Okay, here's the thing I want to mention too. A lot of people know now that like marigolds are great to plant around your perimeter. They help with deer defense, but they also help with pest management like Japanese beetles. I have Japanese beetles all over the marigolds in my tomatoes, like killing the marigolds, but they are not a single one is on my tomatoes. So that's what a trap crop is. And
Yeah.
that's what a beneficial crop like marigold is. And so a lot of people think, oh, it's not working because the marigold is attracting the Japanese beetle. No, it's working. You want
Yes.
the Japanese beetles on that marigold instead of the tomatoes, instead of your cucumbers. So I have dill all over my cucumbers, and that has helped so much with keeping the beetles away. They they have stayed away from the dill. So I've just been noticing companion planting has been critical this year. I am so grateful that I have my tomatoes surrounded by those marigolds because those marigolds are getting devoured and I'm fine with it. So same with the marigolds around my dahlias. They're getting attacked and the dahlias, knock on wood, are looking so great. So it's just another one of those reasons why we put so much talk and effort into where we plant things, when we plant them and why. And it everybody has a purpose and a reason in an organic garden.
This is awesome because this is exactly what we talk about all the time at Costa Maine. Pay attention and you'll have to use less, right? You'll have to, you don't need something to eliminate a particular pest because when you try to do that, if you're not doing it naturally, you're going to create issues elsewhere.
Cameron,
So,
so many people, thank you. So many people spray and dump, I don't know, diametric earth or whatever,
yeah,
neem oil on their plants because they see the Japanese beetles on their marigolds. And marigolds are great. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but they are serving their purpose
yeah,
in their vegetable or cut flower garden by attracting those bugs. A Japanese beetle, alert, alert, attention, newsflash. Japanese beetles only live 30 to 45 days. That is it. That is the life cycle of the Japanese beetles, guys. So if you can make it through a month, you've got it. Like, don't go dumping chemicals that are going to be in the soil forever for a bug that lasts 35 to 45 days. Please. Thank you.
I agree 100%. I think it is, it's that same thing when I talk about this all the time is just setting the culture, whether it's in your garden or raising your kids, really. And so there are going to be things that happen along the way that seem like big deals, but it's patience and activity and taking care of that issue as naturally as you can, that will actually maintain that true sustainable growth in your garden and with your kids too. That's what I think. So,
And the thing that I can't preach enough, and you know this because you've seen the big garden operation that we do at Farm to Table
yeah,
Kids, and just how huge of an operation that is. And you know, my son Joey is a stage
yeah,
4 cancer survivor. So when I
yeah,
say we don't use chemicals, we don't use chemicals.
right,
And we don't use chemicals because the kids also snack on the food every single day of
right.
the summer, every day. So we don't use chemicals. You can manage a 3-acre organic garden with your hands and eyes, minimal intervention by using Stonington blend plant food and your hands and eyes to pull off aphids and slugs when you see them and use beneficial insects like praying mantis and ladybugs, and recognizing that a, a crop, a trap crop, something like a marigold attracting the Japanese beetles but keeping them away from your tomatoes is beneficial. That's doing its job and that's okay. Let that be, you know?
I think this is a great segment. We're up around 17 minutes, and I think we just let people know that we're going to be talking about something else next week that comes to us in the moment based on what is happening in your garden, so that
Mhm.
we can take your real experience and say, hey, don't overreact, be patient, do your work, be kind, and your garden and your kids are going to grow
Yes,
healthily,
I
right?
love that. Yes.
All right. I love you. I'll
I
talk
love
to you
you
later.
too.
All right.
Bye.
See you.